welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on March the 10th, 2020. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, the quaintest of queens,
the Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will, of course, be discussing the games we have played this past week. Horizon Zero Dawn hits Steam this summer. ABLEGAMERS 2020 pay-to-win charity community tournament is going on. Finally, we will have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
What's shaking, bacon?
I became a parent.
Indeed.
I adopted a cat, so if you hear anything in the background, at least for this recording and whenever that freaking content that we recorded goes up, it's the cat going absolutely berserk. Yeah, like cats do, even though I'm not convinced I got a cat. Because it's been chasing its tail. It's been following me like a little puppy. It's been meowing a lot more than I'm used to a cat meowing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced that it's just going to bark at me at one point. If it wasn't for chasing the laser pointer, I wonder if I got a small dog instead.
Yeah, you were definitely describing some dog behavior, but I've never had a dog who chased its tail. I've owned a lot.
I mean, I wish I recorded because Sunshine, that's the cat's name.
Mm-hmm.
The cat's name from the shelter, and I think we're gonna keep it. She was sitting in the hallway, and she noticed her tail flicking because she was agitated because she had just been transported. So she just got out of a cargo pod, and she was agitated, and she was sitting there flicking her tail, and then she looked down at it like, "Oh, what's that?" and started chasing it, and she went full tornado, just around for a good 20 or 30 seconds, and I don't want to interrupt it.
Nice. I like cats. It's tragic that I'm horribly allergic, but...
Well, simple. Get one of the hairless ones.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
Well, then you get a little toupee for it, or a little fur coat.
Put cute sweaters on it. Actually, this isn't so bad. It's not a bad idea. I mean, some cat's going to hate me, and by extension you, but,
Well, let's be honest. Cats naturally hate their owners, or their humans. To some degree.
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm sure Sunshine's going to keep me around is because I feed her. And she's already spoiled. She was meowing like crazy, acting like she didn't have food. She didn't have enough wet food mixed in with her dry. It wasn't to her liking. Oh, which that's how I've always done it. Was just mixing some wet with dry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
you'll learn all of her eccentricities and.
Yeah, I mean she's only 6 months old, so she's a broody teenager right now.
Yeah. Well, you got a new cat. I'm getting not a new PC, but a lot of PC upgrades coming in. I was looking on. I got a message from. I bought all these on eBay. I got a message. Not all of them secondhand. A couple of things secondhand, but I got a message that was like, "There, you've had a shipping or a tracking update." I was like, "Oh, what is this?" And I went and I looked, and I had multiple tracking updates from all of my packages except for one. So they're all going. They all were supposed to be here on Monday of next week, but now they're all supposed to be here by Friday of this week. So I'm very excited. Get to put the new PC together. Baby it, take it on a date, get very intimate with it before my in-laws get here. And I'm going to be alone Saturday night. My wife and son are going to stay with a friend in Nashville to make it easier to pick them up from the airport on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So that
are you still going to go on the side trip to visit the Kmart?
Oh, yes, that's next week though. I'm the one who's taking them back to the airport. So we're going to go on the side trip after I drop them at the airport. But so I'm going to be all by my lonesome Saturday night. It's going to be a good time. I'm going to get I think sushi maybe. I don't know. I'm going to get something. I'm going to have a nice dinner with my new PC. and then we're gonna
play some Outer Worlds.
We're gonna play rough for a while. Gonna really work the new GPU, see how it does. I mean, it's still behind. I always upgrade a generation, or maybe even sometimes 2 generations behind. But I'm going from I was Green Team. I originally had a GTX 750 Ti. Used that for a few years. Then I got the RX 480, so I went Red Team, and I'm back Green Team. I bought a GTX 1070 Ti. I kept my same processor. I have the i7 4790K from, I think it was 2013 or 2014. Was the year that card was the year that CPU was like the top of the line Intel CPU for consumers. And I was doing some comparisons and using a lot of tools online, and it looks like the 1070 Ti is about as far as you can push it before it starts to become a bottleneck in the system. So that's what I went with. And I'm figuring I can get 2-ish more years out of it. Bought a new case because I hate the case that I've been using. And then I got an ATX motherboard instead of a mini ATX, which is what I've been using because I was dummy when I bought it because it was a good deal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'll replace this thing.
Yeah, I've never done anything but full ATX because I've had to work on some computers that were micro ATX and never again.
Yeah. And then this new motherboard has got an M.2 slot on it. So I had been wanting to get a larger SSD to have as a gaming drive, because now I've got an SSD for a boot drive, and then a 2 terabyte hard disk for to put most of my games on. I've got some space on my SSD that I have put a few games on, but generally I don't. It's too small for that. So I bought a 1 terabyte M.2 SSD, which M.2 the standard that I have, because there's multiple standards of that, is only rated for SATA 3 speeds. So it's about the same speed rating as just getting an SSD and
right now
another SATA cable.
I think I'm just going to wait on M.2.
Well, it's the same price as just a standard 1 terabyte SSD.
Last time I priced it, M.2 was still a lot more expensive.
Yeah, it was the Western.
Yeah, and I was just going to wait for it to settle out and see, what standard actually gets somewhat becomes the standard. Basically wins the format war.
It was a Western Digital Blue drive, and they were the same price. And I was like, well, instead of getting another SSD, because I'm not going to throw out the hard disk just because it's old. I'll use it for something else until it dies. But instead of having to get another one and do some more cable management, I'll just get one of these and pop it into the M.2 slot, because they were the same price. It's like $110 for a 1 terabyte M.2 card. And I've seen a lot of stuff that has said that SSD prices are about to go up in reaction to a combination of things, but shipping and manufacturing slowdowns from the coronavirus. And also it uses the same type of, same or similar type of flash memory as smartphone stuff does, and they already fight constant struggles with that. So I thought, well, if I'm going to adopt, now's the time. But I'll have all my stuff here as long as nothing goes wrong by Friday. Oh, and I also got new RAM. I got 16. I was hoping to get 32 gigabytes of 2133 megahertz RAM, because this motherboard still uses DDR3. Which, I mean, RAM speed is not really usually a problem.
It is for AMD, not Intel. As far as I know.
It's not. It could be a problem if I've got, because I think you could get DDR3 in 800 megahertz. But I've been using 1600 megahertz, and it's never been an issue. But I thought, what the hell? It's cheap at this point, relatively speaking. I'll buy a 16 gigabyte kit, chuck that in, and go with that. So going from 16 gigabytes of 1600 megahertz RAM to 2133, and getting a new SSD, upgrading from an RX 480 to a 1070 Ti. getting a new case, and an ATX motherboard. I'm very excited.
Yeah, right now everything for me is still kind of getting settled, and basically, well, since Anita had to go to Florida with her sister, that was a trip that was already planned like a year ago for Girl Scouts. I'm kind of not able to do a lot right now because, it's a lot of it is going through boxes and everything.
Yeah.
So everything's kind of on hold for me. I did get myself a couple fun toys. Like I got a decent sized stock pot to cook with. Yeah, only a 20 quart.
Only 20 quarts.
Yeah, only 5 gallons.
I was about to say, and how many gallons is that? How many liters is 5 gallons?
A lot.
That's about 10, 11 liters. Just like quick off the top of my head math. I think it's like 2 point something liters is 1 US gallon. So somewhere between 10 and 11 liters is how big that stock pot is for anyone who uses the metric system. Like a civilized human being, not like us savages.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm doing a quick conversion. It is... Okay, how about this? It is 18,927 milliliters. There. Since we want to talk civilized people, right?
18,000 milliliters. So that would make it 18 liters? So my math was way wrong.
Well, you also broke up, so I wasn't able to really hear it. Just shy of 19.
Okay, my math was way wrong. According to Google, 1 US gallon is 3.78 liters.
Well, you also have to realize gallons are different in different areas. There's a couple different types of gallons, actually.
Yeah, there's a UK gallon or a British gallon. I can't remember what its other designation is.
Yeah, sort of like whenever you look at a recipe and it says use a cup of flour. Well, you also have to consider where that recipe is coming from, because in Canada, cups are different to the United States, to Asia. Europe has a slightly different cup size. So it could make for some interesting results. That's why whenever you see professional cooks talking, they usually go by weight, because a gram is a gram.
Very true.
And that's also why drug lords prefer grams. No volume for them.
I suppose that would be true. I hadn't thought of it that way. Good for drug lords. You guys know what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, which I also did get another scale. So I have a jeweler scale now. So I'm able to measure to the 100th of the gram. Yeah, for when I use my baking cocaine.
What you're describing there is powdered sugar. Baking cocaine.
Actually, I had a bag of flour burst one time in shipment.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I like to buy in bulk, especially for things that are shelf stable that I will use pretty quickly. And flour is one of them, because I bake my own bread. I do a lot of baking in general. And I go through flour like crazy, especially once my kitchen is not a complete and utter clusterfuck. Which I could go into that one later. That's another story that could be Franken content. But I get my flour from Walmart. I just do a Walmart brand flour, and if I need bread flour, I just add vital wheat gluten to bring the protein level up to bread flour. So whenever I had a lot smaller kitchen and a lot less storage space, I didn't have to stock 2 types of flour. Well, one of the shipments that I was getting from Walmart, they did not pack it correctly. Walmart's usually pretty good about packing their stuff. I guess I got in a middle of a rush because I think it was like a holiday weekend, and they shipped it out on a Tuesday after a Monday holiday, or something like that. So I get a call because as I was out and about that day from the apartment manager where I used to live, saying that I had a package there and it was leaking. And also in this package was a bottle of olive oil. So at first thought was the olive oil busted. No. I got back to the apartment building and there was a white trail from the entrance to the elevator and from the elevator to my apartment door with a giant white puddle there, or I guess puddle would be the proper term, or white spot. And the FedEx guy was talking about how the cocaine was leaking. So now Flower is baking cocaine.
Makes sense. I can get behind that.
Yeah, she called it a Hansel and Gretel trail. Oh, but yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah. So
I remember when that happened.
Yeah.
Or at least when
I talked about it before. So but yeah, I have like 2 different scales now. I have the giant stock pod. I have I actually got a steamer as well, and a couple just little odds and ends. Because can you ever really have enough cooking stuff? I mean, honestly. Well, let's put it this way. I found a Dutch oven I want to get on Amazon.
The question is, can you ever have enough? Yes, I can, but I'm not. I mean, I like cooking, but not in the same way that you do. So,
yeah, I found a Dutch oven I want to get at some point. It is, hang on, I'm bringing it up on my phone. Yeah, and welcome to the cooking portion of the podcast. I found okay, it's this one. A 12-quart Dutch oven. And I think it'll fit in my oven. It is fucking massive. And I want it. And I have a girlfriend that supports me getting cooking stuff, saying that it's better than me spending on fucking fishing stuff. It is 24 pounds.
That's pretty heavy.
Dry 24 pounds. I want to get it, but I'm not sure if I would be able to use it. Because
you just start working out with it.
Just get ripped, right?
Yeah. Wow, how'd you get so buff? I cook a lot. All right. Speaking of getting ripped, that's healthy. Being healthy. Hey, Rage, why don't you go talk about the first game on your list?
Boy, such a reach on that one. What, are we playing Halo?
Hey, no, we haven't in a few weeks. We should.
Yeah, well, I got the new headphones now, so I actually have decent audio again. Even though I did give up on the whole USB thing. Don't know what's going on with that. It might be the Windows update. I don't know. But anyway. 2 Point Hospital recently came out on Game Pass. And I thought, I'll give it another shot. See how it is after several patches. Because I believe it was still fairly recent after it released when it got a free weekend. And the Game Pass version has a couple DLCs, and I thought, I would check it out. Maybe I was a little too hasty on it. Maybe, without the pressure of of the free weekend of have to get enough time in it to get a feel for it. It'll be a lot more fun. I'm not convinced I was particularly hasty about it, but so for those who've never played 2 Point Hospital, it's essentially an homage, a spiritual sequel to Theme Hospital, where you are put in charge of a hospital that has weird and goofy diseases that come in, and you have to try to cure them without the entire place going to shit, essentially. And it's built by each room in preset buildings. So you start with one building, and you place rooms freely within it. And they could be just simple diagnosis, general diagnosis. You could have one that measures heart rate. Or then you could start to get a little wacky, like DNA analyzers. You could have fluid analysis where they have this giant machine with all the syringes on it and jab you. They could have, a psychiatry ward.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't hire people as inappropriate as you, Jared. Sorry.
No.
But I guess I could make an exception.
Yay.
I could always use a janitor.
I'll take it.
But on the surface, it's not bad, all right? I want to make that clear. It's not a terrible game. It's just... it feels like it's a little handholdy. It takes a long time to really be able to get anywhere. And it kind of suffers from the mobilization of games where all the levels have 3 stars, and in order to get the 3 stars, you have to do things in this very particular way. And it does get a bit old. There's a lot of micromanagement, but then again, there isn't. So, or I should say, there isn't the tools to really support it. After the first handful of levels, I started running into a problem of not having enough general practitioners. So, for the loop of a patient, essentially you get brought in, you go to reception and get checked in. And then you go to see the general practitioner who does an initial diagnosis. And if the GP isn't able to get above the threshold for diagnosis, which for without playing around with it at all, if they're not able to figure out 90% this is what you have, they send you off for more diagnosis to the general diagnosis, to the fluid analyzer, that sort of thing. And there's like 5 or 6 rooms I've unlocked right now that are different tests that they can run. And each one brings up that diagnosis. And building up and improving those rooms gives more diagnosis power. Well, once you get over the threshold, without going into the settings and changing something, you go back to the general practitioner, and after every test, you're going back to the general practitioner, and I think you're going to see where the problem in this lies.
You get a bottleneck?
Oh, bottleneck does not begin to say put the word in.
Fair enough.
In my last level, I had 8 general practitioners' offices. Each one had a queue of like 10 to 15 patients at the end of the 2-star level. So, yeah. Really, the only way to alleviate that is to start to specialize your doctors quite heavily. And the game has some basic tools for that, but not enough. So, it has the Dwarf Fortress Dwarf Therapist idea of a grid of jobs where each person is a line on that spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. And you can check off what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And each doctor, nurse, assistant, or janitor, the 4 classifications, either come with basic skills or can learn them via training. But training takes a while, usually between 30 to 40 days, depending on the speed and general traits of the doctors, or the workers, I guess I should say. So it feels rather discouraging to want to train them because it takes so long. And honestly, the game starts to get jump down your throat if you have too many people idle. They start saying, "Oh, you got too many of this, you got too many of that," and it starts to get fucking annoying. But you also want to try to specialize. Have the doctors that are really good at diagnosis be in the diagnosis rooms in the general practitioner, while The doctors and nurses that are good at treatment are in the treatment rooms, which the psychiatry ward is kind of a weird in between. It's diagnosis for some things, but treatment for others. There's a condition called mock star, where people think they're Freddie Mercury, essentially. Well, the treatment is to go to a psychiatrist and, say, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's what I do on a daily basis.
But part of the diagnosis of it, if it's not picked out right away, is to go to a psychiatrist and, talk about this. And it typically follows kind of the path of the disease. So diseases that are more genetic based, like the almost autoimmune, tend to go like fluid analysis or DNA analyzer, that sort of thing. While more general diseases will go to general diagnosis, maybe fluid analyzer, maybe the cardiovascular room. But it just start to get so many bottlenecks, and you have to really specialize people. And the way that the game has it, where yes, you can check people off. Let's say you have somebody that's really good at, you have a house essentially, which actually, if you get a professional trainer in to teach a class, the trainer's the professional teacher's name is called Gregory Mouse.
That's pretty good. I like that. That's good.
The psychiatrist is Sigmund Ford.
Yep. That tracks.
Yeah. I can't remember some of the other ones, but it's essentially a pun on a famous person in that field, either fictional or real. But the way the game handles doctors, nurses, and such going on breaks kind of also breaks, if you pardon the term or phrase, the specialization. So typically, the way it is that you could allow so many doctors to go on break at once. All right. Let's say you have 10 doctors and you have 5 and 5. All right. Incredibly small hospital, but work with me here.
Okay.
Well, you could set. I think the default policy is 10% of your workforce could go on break at once. Well, it's either 10 or 20%. So 1 or 2 doctors. But because you have to specialize later on, well, you may have 2 doctors from the diagnosis team go on break, and now your treatment team is running themselves ragged and not allowed to go on break until the diagnosis team comes off break. And it's just kind of micromanaging in the worst way possible, because yes, you can tell individual doctors to go on break, but there's no easy way to tell that unless you're sitting there going through all the menus. And it's not a lot of fun doing it. And there's also this overarching progression system that is kind of cool, but also kind of annoying as well, where the research that you generate on each map carries over. So if you research a new room for a disease, well, you can go back to the previous levels and enact that, or you research upgrades for rooms. Those carry over. The thing is also, just like the training, building an upgrade takes a month. And if you're already suffering from a bottleneck, you either just start sending people home, or you just build another copy of that room, and just start sinking more and more money into the problem. I mean, generally, I usually keep 2 copies of each diagnosis and treatment room anyway, and try to spread out the upgrades, but it gets expensive and it's slow. And copying a room doesn't copy the upgrade either. It's just, there's a lot of niggles to this that really keeps me from liking it a lot more, because it does feel a lot like a modern theme hospital. but it's just micromanaging in the worst possible way. They did, ever since the last time I played, and had the ability to at least copy rooms, because that wasn't in the last time, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I build like a right-hand and a left-hand version of like general diagnosis, for example, to be able to just go along the length of a building, I could just copy and paste that room over and over again instead of having to build it over and over and over. I'd still love to be able to save a couple blueprints to be able to have, you know, a general version of general diagnosis. But, you know, that's might be asking a little much. Honestly, a lot of times just getting to the 3 and 4 star, or sorry, to the 2 and 3 stars, is honestly just a lot of times just waiting around and maybe doing 1 or 2 things. I mean, to be fair, it does allow time to build up research to be able to unlock more things and start to have a lot more upgrades for later levels. To build up that overall progression system, but at the same time, it's just kind of, it's kind of boring. Just kind of sitting around waiting on things. I mean, if I wanted to sit around and just watch numbers go up, I'd play a damn idle game.
Fair play.
And honestly, there's a couple things that just make no sense to me either. Like the queuing system as well. So every room has its own individual queue, all right? But if, let's say, a patient 2 in the queue suddenly really has to go take like a mega dump, all right?
Okay.
Well, and there's actually diseases that I think affect that, where they have to use the bathroom more often. Or I could just be reading into it a little bit too much, and it could just be a general thing. Well, he goes off and uses the bathroom. Well, if the bathroom isn't nearby, he has to go a lot further. But he's still number 2 on the queue. So number 1 gets stabby, or whatever the hell is going on in that room. And they call it for number 2. Number 2's gone.
Number 2's taking a number 2.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, they don't skip number 2. They just sit there and wait. And that just makes the problem even worse. And honestly, the AI can be a little dumb at times. There's times that they'll just get stuck on things, even though the game says that there's plenty of room, or even if there's a large hallway. There's been times I've seen just the patients and workers just kind of bump into each other and, you know, kind of get stuck and kind of Michael Jackson moonwalk there for a bit. It requires a lot more fiddling, a lot more toying with it than I really think is warranted. Which is a little disappointing. I mean, I've tried this game a couple times now, and I really don't think that they're going to do another major thing with it, or at least they may do some more DLC. I mean, they did do one free update, but it's basically just a different game mode from what they've done before. It feels a little disappointing.
Yeah,
I think it's the base is there for a good game, but it just doesn't really land it, you know. It needs a little bit more time in quarantine. Yeah.
I see what you did there, and I appreciate it. All right.
I would say that if you have Game Pass, it is worth checking out soon, because a lot of this may just be me coming from Theme Hospital and having that nostalgia, but having to heavily specialize doctors and then not having a system in place to be able to build like teams of doctors just seems a little odd.
Mm-hmm.
But to give you an idea of when I did specialize my doctors in that one level that had, you know, like 12 or 13 deep queues on 8 general diagnosis or general practitioners. Just bit the bullet. I took like 2 or 3 months of just bad, a lot of people getting pissed with me, and took a good chunk of my team and built a decent diagnosis team. And I went from 15 deep, 12 to 15 to 3, just because I had a proper diagnosis team. But then I was running into the problem of them just getting tired because
right.
And that's where, I started to get a little bit annoyed with it. But anyway, so
yes.
Time for a mini game club?
Indeed. A game, I was going to use the segue of speaking of a Game Pass, because of 2 Point Hospital. You and I both played...
but this isn't a Game Pass.
No. You and I both played Full Metal Furies using PC Game Pass. The link I've got is for the Steam Store page, because I like the Steam Store page is the best for actually getting details about games. But we played Full Metal Furies. A fun, very fun multiplayer. What would this art style be called?
Pixel art.
Pixel art style, sort of side-scrolling beat-em-up type game. Very reminiscent. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with this type of game. It makes me think of Castle Crashers and the Scott Pilgrim game. But I know there are lots of games that are in this genre. I just don't typically play it.
I mean, this feels a little bit like Streets of Rage back in the day, only with no friendly fire. But it's a beat 'em up with, depending on the character you're using, either melee or ranged weaponry, and with a strong dose of humor. I think they learned a lot from what they did with Rogue Legacy. This is the same developers that did Rogue Legacy. And it feels like they learned a lot on their humor. They learned a lot on their gameplay and developed a really polished and a lot of a fun game. So you are playing a group of 4 female warriors that are trying to stop essentially the end times, or this giant war that's going to destroy the world. The Titans have been released and they're rebuilding their forces, so there's a lull in the fighting. But everybody knows once the Titans have rebuilt their forces, they're going to wipe out humanity.
Yeah, and in the first couple of cutscenes, it was like the war's been going on for a long time, and humanity so far has survived, but we probably won't survive the second wave. So that's sort of the story impetus. And you're going on this adventure to stop the Titans. It's very fun in co-op. I did play it a little bit single player. I started a new game so that it wouldn't interfere with the progress that you and I had made, just to check out the swapping mechanics, and try out a couple of the other Furies, because each of us, when we played, only played as one of them. So
we tried one, and then had the game crash out, and we restarted and actually got the proper opening cutscene.
Yeah, for some reason, the first time we played, it skipped the opening cutscene in the tutorial and dumped us into the area that's serves as your home base, where you can do all of your upgrades and everything, and sort of practice your moves a little bit.
No idea.
And then the game crashed, but it worked fine the second time. But you've got four characters, 4 Furies, 2 melee, 2 ranged, and there seems to be a good deal of variety there.
Yeah, there's Alex, the friendly fighter, engages up close with counters and combos. That's what you're playing.
Yep.
Meg, the nearsighted sniper, plant mines, shoot from afar, and juggle your enemies. Triss, the boxy tank, who also drinks a lot of tea. Save allies with your shield or send enemies flying. And then Aaron, the overly engineer, control the battlefield with her turrets. She also has a gun.
Yep, and that was who you were playing when we played together.
Yeah.
And that was a good combo. 1 melee and 1 range character.
Yeah, and the interesting mechanic that they have was the colored shields. Enemies could occasionally develop a shield or spawn with one. and each of the Furies is associated with the color. Aaron is green.
Alice is red.
Yeah, yours was red. I'm assuming the other one would be purple.
The tank is blue, and the sniper is yellow.
Okay. So, and only that Fury could damage that enemy up until a point that the shield breaks, and then anybody could damage it. But if there's a white shield, it's immune to all damage. It's essentially treated as like a transformation stage, or a segue between two phases of a fight.
Yeah. And you definitely want to stay out of their way. The move system all feels really good. You unlock different equipment and different items that give you different either abilities or flavors to the way that your moves work. So Alex's primary weapon is this big hammer. And pretty early on, I got a different version of the hammer. All of the attacks were the same, but the final attack on the second version guarantees all enemies are lit on fire. The attack is a little bit slower, so I had to kind of learn how to work with that and be careful with it, but guarantees it lights enemies on fire, which does damage over time for maybe 5 seconds.
Yeah, for me, I have... well, I'm using a gun, so I have a ranged attack, but it's a limited range. And it's auto lock on within essentially a cone of sight. So I essentially aim in a general direction and lock on, which was a little troublesome at times if I was trying to shoot an enemy with my colored shield and it was locking onto the different enemy. But there was just a single shot. There was a charge shot, which I got the ability to do a charge shot that also lit things on fire.
Woo, fire.
I'm not sure if it was slower or not, or if it took more of my ammo clip. That's the kind of the mechanic with her, is that she has 12 shots, and then she has to reload, which takes a couple seconds. The drone I got swapped out pretty much instantly. One just locked onto a nearby enemy and fired. The upgrade I got damaged all enemies in the radius, and the radius was a bit bigger. And it looks like each ability has essentially 3 upgrades, or 3, I guess, side grades, really, because it's kind of trading off.
Yeah, and each of these abilities the more you use it, it levels up, which gives your character flat bonuses, or gives your profile rather flat bonuses, and they stack. So playing each of the 4 characters is encouraged because their bonuses stack for your active character. So, I mean, they give you things like bonus health or bonus attack damage, at least that we've seen so far. I don't know if there's anything more interesting or unique, but there could be. We're still fairly early in the game. We played about an hour and a half. Yeah. Or did we play 2 hours, maybe?
I think we played closer to 2, actually.
And then I played for maybe like 20 minutes to see how the single player works, because in single player, you have 2 characters that you choose and you swap between the 2 of them. And there are some interesting combo moves you can do when you're in control of both of them. And I assume that we could do them if we got better at coordinating together. But I mean, with being in control of both characters, whenever you click, I'm using Xbox controllers. Whenever I pull right trigger, it just immediately like changes the active fighter, like right where you're standing. It's not like they jump.
Yeah, they do say that it's heavily encouraged to use a controller. And for me, it was pretty much a requirement because they had a bug on my version that it wasn't giving me any keyboard and mouse commands. So it was all press Xbox version of start. Okay, yeah. I don't see that button on my keyboard. And it was press X to select character. And we very nearly didn't play it because, I thankfully was able to find my controller, but it was just, it was going to be impossible to play.
Yeah. I'm glad you found it, though, because we had a good time. And I assume we're going to play it some more.
Yeah. It does have some fourth wall breaks and a lot of humor, actually.
Yeah, I really like the humor. A lot of puns.
Yeah, the Minotaur that you're chasing constantly moves.
Yeah, and he does lots of like workout flex poses. And there's one point
There's one point where the sniper asks, "How did we see he was flexing?"
Yeah, because he calls you on your radio and like talks to you after you beat like the first boss or the first mini boss. I don't know exactly what type of boss that fight counted as, but he calls you. He's like, "Hey, you guys did pretty good. Do you want to join me?" And you go through this whole cutscene conversation with him. And at the end, the sniper's like, "Wait a minute, how are we seeing him flexing?" That was a good joke, good fourth wall break. But yeah, we laughed quite a bit. It was enjoyable. There don't seem to be any restrictions on movement that we found because we didn't like 100% the first map. Then we went to check out like this other thing, but then immediately came back and it didn't stop us from doing that. So it appears that we could go back and grind and or move forward.
Yeah, well, whatever we failed, whenever we failed a couple times, we still kept the gold that we picked up. So it definitely encourages try again.
And speaking of that, it shares everything. So if one of us picks up a health pack, the other one also gets health. Every time we pick up gold, the other person gets it too.
It's very co-op friendly. Because some of these games that are co-op aren't very friendly with one another.
And I was doing a quick minute of research because I asked this question when we were playing. Can you mix local and online players at the same time? And you can. So I could have 3 people playing on my machine, or and then you could also join us, or it could be 2 and 2, or 1 and 2. Like there's no limit to that except for the number
4 and 0.
Yeah, it could be 4 and 0. There's only 4 characters, so that's your limit. But you can have that combination in any way that you wish. And I thought that was very, very cool. It's
what
it's
about
a small
2.5 and 1.5?
I suppose you could figure out how to do that. Maybe like
let the cat handle the control the face buttons.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean that's I think probably a relatively small feature, but it's just like one of those things that's like, oh, that's nice. Because I have tried to play games in the past before that don't let you have a local player joining in an online multiplayer session. It's like, well, fuck, sorry, buddy. I guess we can just like pass the controller back and forth. Yeah, back in the days, mostly when I used to play stuff on console. But I think it was Gears of War. The first Gears of War wouldn't let you do that, and one of the Halos didn't let you do that. And a few other games. So that's a nice feature to see for the people who will utilize it. I don't think that we ever would. Maybe Katie would not play this game. I don't know how Anita feels about these types of games, but Katie wouldn't. She wouldn't care to play it.
I think she would give it a shot, but it's not her jam.
Yeah, but we had a really good time. I mean, I 100% would recommend this game to someone who has Game Pass. Especially if you have people to play it with. And I mean, if you're listening to the show and you wanted to play, I would totally be down to play with you. It's super easy to start a new game. And it's one of those things
like 6 or 7 different profiles.
Yeah, you can create a lot of different profiles, and the progress is separate for each of them. So, we could just fire up a new profile, or could join, I could join somebody or whatever. But anyways, super easy to start up and play. If you get Game Pass, I would definitely recommend it. As for buying it, it's I think $20 on Steam. It's $20 on Steam. Normally,
that's a little steep.
For me personally, I 100% think that's too much, but I also am not typically a big fan of this genre.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
All the way through, so I don't know.
All right, here's the thing. No. I was going to say, if you have Rogue Legacy, it actually is $16.
Okay, I don't have Rogue Legacy.
They have a bundle by Rogue Legacy Full Metal Furies, and that's 20% off. So that's knocking a few bucks off. And during a sale, that'll go even further.
I feel like if I was just like looking at this and was gonna, I'd maybe played it, but it wasn't on Game Pass, and I wanted to get it. I think I'd be willing to pay like $10 for it, to have to play with friends in co-op, and maybe $5 as like a solo play type game. So
yeah, that's the thing is that these multiplayer focused ones, it's hard to really justify a high price for them because you have to sell multiple copies usually. Because I think it's fair to say that online play is kind of the norm these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty positive you are correct. It does run like super smooth. I don't know how low a hardware you could go and play it, but I mean, with it being pixel art and for the most part, not a lot of crazy complex stuff on screen, I can't imagine that.
Let's put it this way: the minimum specs on Steam: Windows 7 processor 2 gigahertz, memory 2 gigs, a 88 GTS HD 2900 Pro or Intel HD 530, which those are damn old, huh?
Yeah.
And 500 megabytes of available space.
Wow. On the recommended, GTX 285. That card's what, 12 years old, 13 years old? And GTX 20.
Yeah, I'm searching it right now. Yeah, thank you, Google, for telling me January 15th, but not what year. 2009.
2009.
So 11 years old.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible you could have a really rotten potato that wouldn't run it, but anything even remotely modern will not have a problem with this game.
Yeah, something from the past decade or so.
Yeah.
But to be fair, my computer is getting up there.
Fair enough. Computer's an old man or an old lady. Do you think of your things as male or female?
I don't know. I never asked it.
I
never assumed it.
Fair enough.
It would be interesting to see a full 4-player co-op of this, because I bet that would get a little nuts.
It would get fucking hectic. Even with just the two of us, sometimes
yeah,
it would be like,
there was a couple times
those guys have got green shields. I can't do anything.
Yeah, there was a couple times I lost track of who I was. Because, there was a couple times that very similar size characters.
Yeah. The one thing that I kept messing up was my movement ability was a jump, and it was sometimes unclear if I was going to be able to jump over an obstacle or not. So I would go to jump, but I wouldn't get over the piece of scenery in the way, and so then I would fall down and get hit by.
Yeah. There was a couple times that it was a little bit cumbersome on what you were actually able to pass. I was never able to pass any of it. I had a dodge roll.
Yeah. And then once I got the high jump, that was less of an issue, just because I go so high, I could clear most obstacles. But with the normal jump, it was harder to tell. And then once I finally got the timing down on the counterattack, that was brilliant. That's how we survived that one boss fight that we kept getting killed on. Was I finally figured out the counterattack. So every time I would get charged by the bulls, I would, even though they were invincible, I could counter. And when you counter, you get several frames of invincibility, so they would pass through me and wouldn't hurt me. Because we kept getting stuck on that boss fight and going down, and then finally I figured out. I was like, yes, woo!
Yeah, there was only so much I could do. The only thing I had was the dodge roll, and it has a several second cooldown.
Yeah.
So if I dodge rolled the wrong way or dodge rolled and something else attacked me,
And the counter, I was looking, reading through the stuff on my moves. The counter can interrupt any other move that you're doing. So no matter what I was doing, unless I was in midair, I could counter and avoid damage. And once I figured that out in that boss fight, it was very satisfying to survive and finally beat that level. But overall, it's a lot of fun. It would be really crazy to see 4-player multiplayer.
I don't want to do it.
Well, let's recruit. Dear listeners, those with Game Pass. That's what Jim and Cube, I think, has Game Pass. I know Jim does. Maybe Ghost Shark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I have to admit, I was kind of expecting to hear all about Train Sim World this week.
I have been playing some other games,
Which
I guess
were?
I can. Which, yeah, several actually, but the only one I'm going to talk about tonight is the Division 2, which I wasn't even going to talk about that this week. I was going to pick a different game out of my backlog. Because I was trying to get together with Cube and Ghost to play it multiplayer and see what the multiplayer is like. And that randomly kind of or not kind of, it randomly happened last night. I was going to play poker, which was the game I was going to talk about. Maybe I'll talk about that next week. I was going to play some poker, and I turned on my computer at like 10:30, and they're both sitting in Discord playing the Division 2. And I'm like, all right, why not? I'll jump in and play for a little bit. So the Division 2, I mean, obviously a direct sequel to the Division 1 that is better in every single way that I have noticed so far. It's a live service MMOE type third-person shooter game set in a oddly, or what feels oddly current,
appropriate or inappropriate.
Yeah, it's like a post-contagion America. I don't know if it's wider world or not, but there was a terrorist attack on the United States.
Yeah, the dollar flu.
Yeah, the dollar flu in the first game, which was spread on Black Friday, which killed in the first game, a ton of people basically shut down the city of New York. And you're these guys called division agents that go into the city, like you're activated by the president, and you don't answer to anyone, and you're trying to solve this problem and put New York back together. The Division 2 says, okay, the dollar flu mutated and spread, and also there were further attacks on other major metropolitan areas in the United States. And basically the country is destroyed as we know it. It's the remnants of an America. And as far as I know, I haven't seen anything in the game that says, like, yes, the rest of the world has been affected or not. But the second game takes place in Washington, D.C. Pretty much immediately after the tutorial. You go to D.C. and there's an assault on the White House. And you save the White House, and you're like, I mean, your character is silent, but you show up and they're like, oh my God, a division agent. Yay, we're saved. And so begins the game. It's got a more intriguing story with actual characters and what feels like meaningful dialogue and events that happen. Because, I mean, in the first game, most of the story revolves around like, hey, go into the sewers and turn the generators back on or fix the water pipes. And in this one, it's like, we're rebuilding communities in the ruins of DC and trying to track down this guy who is, I think, the main sort of big bad guy. And he's got a bunch of different sort of titles in the game as you learn his story. But he's like a U.S. Army colonel or maybe major that I'm not 100% sure what his rank was when he actually...
So he's a model of a honor major general?
Yes, he is. But when he essentially changes sides and is like, no, I'm only out to protect my men, and he becomes like a dictator. I think he's the big bad guy. There's some other stuff going on in the background. I'm about halfway through the story, or at least I'm halfway through the levels, the leveling system. So I think I'm about halfway through the story. But he seems like the big bad. And then there's other factions and things going on. But the story just in general feels like it's actually there this time instead of just being a loose collection of fetch quests and area defense quests. So I think that's pretty neat. And then you get a little bit connected to these settlements. You get to watch them grow and improve and change as you complete their specific side quests and complete the main missions and see the world change, which is nice. I mean, it's not like, A++, like story material that's going to go down in history, but it's there and it's pretty solid. Like, it feels like a good like B- story. It feels like what the Call of Duty stories used to feel like up until Black Ops. And like, it feels pretty on par with the Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2 stories for people who are familiar with those games. They've added a lot of new abilities and variations to the abilities in the game. So in the first division, I believe there were 4. And in this one, there's 8. Several of them are drone based. Like there's one that's like a recon drone that can also drop ordnance. There's basically just a drone with a machine gun on it, and it has a couple of other variants.
As you do.
There's the turret drone. And what's the other drone? Oh, there's like a new like healing pod drone. And it's called, I think, like the Hive. And it looks like a weird little beehive that launches a bunch of tiny drones that heal teammates. And then I think it's got one that can hurt enemies as well. There's the riot shield is back. The turret is the same as from the first game. There's the seeker mine, which is like a little rolly ball. And then there's one I'm forgetting. Oh, the ordnance launcher, which shoots like grenades, like specialty grenades. They can either help your allies or hurt enemies based on which one you choose. So every one of these abilities has got 3 or 4 variants depending on what it is. And whenever you unlock the ability, you get to choose whichever one you want. And then as you collect, or as you complete missions and level up and explore the world, you get these other points that you can spend to upgrade your character's abilities, so you can unlock the new stuff, or you can give yourself things like more inventory, better like scan radius for collectible material and things like that. So it's got that upgrade system. Everybody's sort of biggest complaint with the first division was how bullet spongy the enemies felt. I will say, just to sort of help anyone listening maybe understand my position on this, it didn't bother me. It's a video game. I can accept that enemies are going to be a little bit bullet spongy. But in this one, they don't feel as spongy. Like the normal enemies go down fast as long as you are using a weapon at or close to your level. You're killing enemies.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was
going to say you're killing enemies with like a single headshot or with like a single shotgun blast to the chest. Like the normal enemies go down like that.
I think the big thing about the bullet sponginess wasn't that they were bullet spongy, but it was immersion breaking. You had random guy, no armor, no nothing, tank 4 or 5 headshots and not go down.
Yeah.
That makes it feel a lot worse, even though it may be the same amount of damage overall.
Yeah. But for at least the normal enemies, that's not really a thing anymore. I mean, if you use like a level 1 gun and you're in like a level 15 area, yeah, you're not going to kill anybody no matter how many times you shoot them.
At least with that attitude.
But, if you're using a weapon pretty close to your level, then you won't have that issue. And then the upper sort of tiers of enemies, there's like 2 or 3 tiers above like a standard enemy. And there might be some more that I just haven't encountered yet. They start to get a little more difficult, but also they do a much better job of representing like, okay, this guy is there's a guy at like tier 3, like a yellow enemy. It's got like a big ass minigun, and he's wearing a full suit of like hardened body armor. Like it looks a lot like the type of blast suits that explosive ordnance guys wear when they're disarming bombs. So it's like, okay, I get it. Like this guy is like covered in armor. So I think it helps a lot with that. There is, though, the ordnance launcher has got a thing called an acid round, which basically just eats that stuff up within 1 or 2 shots, and then they're like a normal enemy. It makes killing the boss enemy super easy. But anyways, I don't really feel like that's much of a problem anymore. It makes a lot more sense from like, okay, this guy is wearing armor. Maybe he shouldn't still be able to take, 20 rounds to the chest or whatever, but he's wearing armor, so I can suspend my disbelief a little bit easier. There's better weapon variety, both in terms of actual weapons. The Division uses real-world weapons, but there are more of them in the Division 2. And also there are more special weapons that are named and come with like custom weapon skins on them. And you do get weapon and armor skins that can pretty much be applied across the board. There's some like specific fancy schmancy ones in the microtransaction store, because of course there's one. It's a Ubisoft game. And the
Well, I would
loot
say
boxes, because of course there are.
I was going to say it's a AAA game released in the current year.
Yeah. So, I mean, that bullshit is there. I so far haven't felt like it has negatively impacted my game. Obviously, if you're someone who cares about all of the cosmetic stuff a lot more, it certainly will. Because that's where the biggest majority of all of your cosmetic items come from. I have found a few things in the world, like cool sunglasses or a cute scarf or whatever. But, I mean, all of the coolest looking stuff is in the loot boxes and microtransaction shop.
Because of course they are.
Yeah. I've gotten a decent amount of weapon skins without having to get any, and so far every skin I've gotten can be applied to any weapon. So that one hasn't really been too bad. Personally, I don't like a lot of the weapon skins that are the really expensive, like fancy ones in the shop, so I haven't even been tempted. But I mean, that's, taste is subjective. So I'm not
and let's be honest, you do not have the standard taste.
That is true.
Now, if there was an Aeromorph skin, now, oh boy.
The skin that I use all the time is one that's like, I forget what its name is, but it basically looks like cotton candy swirl. That's what I use on all of my weapons. 2 thumbs up. But let's see. Weapons. Oh, the upgrade system is a lot better now. Basically, you get a weapon upgrade, and you can just apply it to any weapon that it fits. In the first one, it was like, okay, I've got a level 10 barrel attachment that fits shotguns, and all of that shit's gone now. It's just like you unlock weapon attachments either through completion of side missions or as just one of the straight up upgrades, because you can, as like a quote skill, unlock one basic upgrade that fits almost every weapon. So you can get like a scope that fits almost every weapon, and a foregrip that fits almost every weapon, and a muzzle brake that can fit almost every weapon, like that. So they're not like the best upgrades, but they're pretty universal. But all of these weapon attachments and upgrades that you get, you just have them once you unlock them. So any weapon that they fit, you can apply them to. So that really simplifies and streamlines that whole system. Because in the first one, if you forgot to unequip a weapon attachment and you dismantled or sold the weapon, the attachment was gone. And you're like, well, fuck. But now that doesn't matter, which I like. And then multiplayer, the multiplayer is a lot better than in the first one. It does level scaling a lot better. When we played last night, I was the lowest level character, and Cube was the highest, but it basically just brings everyone's power level in line with the highest level person. And so I wasn't struggling or falling behind at all. Like in the mission comparisons, like at the end, I was right in line with him for like damage dealt and, the amount of damage soaked and things like that. So I didn't feel useless. And in the first division, if you were more than maybe 2 levels below the person, the scaling just didn't work right. And you didn't feel powerful at all. It sucked pretty hardcore. The game is certainly playable single player. The first division was as well. This one is a lot better single player, but I mean, where it's designed to be a multiplayer game, it's a lot better multiplayer than single player. But if you're sort of out there listening, thinking about getting it, because the price is still reduced. I bought it when it was on sale for something like $3 as a promotion for their new DLC, which takes you back to New York. I did not buy the DLC, just the base game. But right now it's still on sale for I think half off of its normal price. If you're on the fence about buying it, we have a VGL Podcast clan that I started because why the hell not? You could join that and jump in with any of us who are playing. But also, it's completely 100% playable single player. Up until last night, I had played through level 14 or 15 single player and haven't really struggled. I mean, it's not like it's super easy. I don't want to say that it's like, I don't think it's super difficult, but it's also not like just a piece of cake. Like there's been a couple times I've died, a few times where I've gotten downed, and I just happen to have an appropriate skill that can help me out and get me back. But if you're keeping your gear at or very close to the level that you're at, maybe one level behind, it shouldn't be an issue. And once you unlock weapon crafting, that just scales with you. So if you don't find something you want to use for a couple of levels, just go craft a weapon that you want. They have good stats and they're leveled to you. And crafting materials are fucking everywhere. I haven't ran out of anything, so all in all, it's a very solid game. I mean, if you are interested in playing, or if you own it, maybe, and you want to come back to it, I think it's a good time to. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't buy it when it went stupid cheap because I had so many performance troubles with the other one.
Yeah. Oh, performance. Aside from, so the first game was set in the winter. This one is set in either the spring or the summer. So there are more varied sort of climate type areas. I mean, it's Washington, D.C., so it's not like it varies wildly between like desert to jungle, but it's very temperate. And for the most part, I haven't noticed any performance issues unless it gets foggy. Typically after it rains, if it rains at nighttime and then you come into the morning, it gets really foggy, and that causes a lot of problems. It took me a while to tweak my settings to get it to where that when it got foggy, it wouldn't just tank my FPS to 30 or less.
Yeah, the previous game, there was one particular street that I just could not do because it was both snowy, foggy, and there was fire. It would just, it would turn into a slideshow. And also, what really got me whenever they had a free, like, weekend or week playtime, was one of the story missions where you go into a mall and the firefighters were there and everything was on fire, and the longer you're on that mission, the more fire there was, and the more fire, the worse my frame rate got, to the point that it was horrendous.
Yeah. I haven't noticed anything quite like that, although, I'm only level 15. I've only explored about half the map. I got a little bit more of that playing last night because I just tagged along on their missions. But so far I haven't run into anything that major. I also, though, didn't experience a lot of the performance hiccups you did with the first one. So I'm assuming that was because you have AMD CPU and I have an Intel CPU.
Yeah, or my CPU was just too old.
Possibly. This one, though, is like whenever the game launches, it's like AMD optimized or whatever. So that, I don't know if that would help or not. I guess it depends on how good of a job they did. But yeah, overall, solid game. Definitely worth like the $3 stupid cheap price tag. And if you got a group of friends to play with, I think it's worth like the 10. I feel pretty similar to it the way I do about Borderlands. It's fun to play by yourself, especially in short bursts, but when you've got other people with you, it's a whole other animal in a good way. So that's going to do it for games that we played this week.
We ended up going a lot longer than I expected on that. How about you?
Yeah, we did spend a good deal of time chatting beforehand, though. 15 minutes or so before we even started talking
some
about
of that
games.
can be frankened as well.
But our first news topic of the night, Horizon Zero Dawn hits Steam this summer. The news itself is pretty straightforward. Horizon Zero Dawn, a previously PlayStation exclusive game, is coming to PC, which is pretty cool. I have wanted to play Horizon Zero Dawn, but I don't own a PS4. But got me thinking about, or us, I suppose, thinking about this. Is Sony finally going to start opening up a lot of its exclusives to come to PC? Because Sony and Nintendo are kind of the two holdouts for that. I mean, Xbox has basically gone, all right, fuck it. You want our games on PC? Go for it. And a lot of PC games have came to Switch. So Nintendo is a little bit more integrated into the PC market than Sony is. But Sony it feels like they're dipping their toes in.
Yeah, which this isn't a first-party game, by the way. This was developed by Guerrilla Games. I don't think they are a Sony studio. I could be wrong on that, though. I gotta admit that Oh no, it is owned wholly, based in Amsterdam, Netherlands. It is wholly owned subsidiary of Sony Entertainment. So, correction on that. It is a first party game technically.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it was a first-party game. It was maybe a PS4 launch title.
It was a PS4 launch title or close to it. I gotta admit, I don't follow a lot of Sony stuff or PlayStation stuff because it rarely comes to PC, if ever. So, I just never really paid attention to it. So I, honestly don't know a lot about Guerrilla Games.
I think they've also done Killzone. I'm pulling up their site before, but I think Guerrilla Games is who's made Killzone, or at least the most recent couple of Killzone games. Oh my god, their website is terrible. I should just look this up on Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's they make games, not websites.
That is very true. Yeah, okay, so they make Horizon Zero Dawn, Riggs MCL. What is that? I think that's a esports game.
Well, let's put it this way. As Guerrilla Games, this was the first non-Killzone game they've made since 2004.
Yeah, and then, Killzone. So,
which, honestly, I don't know much about Killzone because, once again...
Killzone's a PlayStation exclusive. Has been for forever, I guess.
For 16 years?
Yeah. I quite like Killzone. It's a very good first-person shooter. I've played some of the older ones on PS3. I may have even played one on PS2. I can't remember that one or not. But Killzone is a good sci-fi first-person shooter series. Killzone has been for a while sort of Sony's beginning of generation. Hey, look at what our machine can do. I think it was Shadows Fall was the one that came out on the first one on PS4. And they were like, wow, look at all of the effects that we can do now with the PS4. Isn't it cool? And I heard Shadows Fall was overall a piece of hot garbage, but I have not played Shadows Fall. Anyways, Sony has got a large library of exclusives that I have been interested in for a long time, going all the way back to,
Well, the most recent one I can think of is Spider-Man, of course.
Yep, Spider-Man. There is Horizon Zero Dawn, which I've been interested in. There is which I think Detroit was already coming to PC before this.
Yeah, but Detroit Become Human was already coming to PC, so.
Gran Turismo has always been a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, that's the definitive simulator for consoles, isn't it, these days?
Yeah, it for a while it and Forza were kind of battling back and forth, but Forza has kind of gone off on the mainline Forza series has kind of gone off the deep end with trying to do live service microtransaction bullshit. And as far as I know, Gran Turismo has remained, I don't know, pure, quote unquote pure. But I mean, I am a big fan of the Gran Turismo series. I have been for a long time. It was one of the first hardcore racing games, sim racing games I ever played. And it is
damn license challenges.
I did always hate the license challenges. But so Gran Turismo, there's a lot of
that's the thing. It's tough for me to really think of a lot of them. I'm excited for it, but like I said, whenever I'm looking at stuff at E3, I see PlayStation exclusive or coming to PlayStation. I just kind of zone out because 9 times out of 10, I don't even have a chance to play it on PC, let alone it actually coming to PC.
Yeah, well, there's also God of War. The God of War series is PlayStation exclusive. There's what is it? Bloodborne I don't really want to play that, but sort of the Dark Souls-esque game that was exclusive to PS4. The Infamous series has been PlayStation exclusive. They recently redid Ratchet and Clank. I can't remember if that was a remaster or if they're actually making new ones, but I've played the older Ratchet and Clank games. Quite like those. Killzone, which we kind of talked about. The Last of Us and Uncharted are both PlayStation exclusive games. Or PlayStation exclusive series.
Yeah.
A lot of the Yakuza games are PlayStation exclusives. I know that there's a few that are on, or a couple.
Yeah, well, they're slowly coming out to PC as they get remastered. There's rumors that the ones that have been remastered will eventually come to PC, but yeah, rumors are one thing, right?
Yeah. Oh,
because Fallout 76 was rumored to be a good game at one point.
That is true. But the Persona series, which I personally am interested in, and have followed for a while, but again, it's PlayStation exclusive. Kingdom Hearts. Some of the Kingdom Hearts stuff is on Game Boy, like the weird titles, but all the main games.
Kingdom Hearts is one of those series that, yes, it's up to 3 mainline titles, but it has like 70 titles overall if you want to know the entire story or pretend to know it.
Yeah. I think that's all I can think of. But I mean, there's like off the top of my head, if I went and looked at a list or maybe spent some time thinking about it, I could probably come up with a few more. But I mean, there are a lot of PlayStation exclusives that I have been interested in, but I didn't own a PS3. I had a buddy who had one in college, and we were in the same dorm. So I did play a decent amount of PS3 games, but I mean, I don't own a PS4. I've completely skipped that generation of consoles. I'm not going to buy one at this point. So all of those exclusives I will have missed, but I have been interested in them from either playing previous games in a series on other consoles, or just, by being in the know in the game industry, seeing things and being like, man, I'd love to play that, especially on my PC.
Yeah, I guess I don't really offer a lot to the discussion here because, like I said, I kind of zone out and I focus on things I actually have a chance of playing.
Well, I mean, that's what's got me pretty, kind of perked my ears up on this, because with, Horizon Zero Dawn being a PlayStation exclusive coming to PC, I'm assuming this is sort of a test the waters experience, and they're going to see how well it does. And I'm hoping for the potential of further PlayStation exclusives coming to PC. I mean, that only continues to strengthen the value of PC gaming. If all the major console players are like, fine,
even if it's eventually, because here's the thing is that Horizon Zero Dawn is coming as a complete edition, so all the DLC as well. And honestly, it really pays to be a patient gamer these days, because you get past all the launch bullshit, all the launch bugs, because let's be honest, it's more often than not there's going to be some sort of major glitch or major bug in a AAA game, because they're at the point now where we'll patch it live. We'll do it live.
Yeah. I think it's always paid off to be a patient gamer. I mean,
but
one
more
thing
so
that
than usual.
Yeah. I was genuinely thinking about buying a PS4, like, whenever the PS5 comes out and a bunch of people like sell their PS4s and you get those big like library collections on eBay. I was thinking about maybe, going down that route and getting a PS4 for these exclusives. But if they bring their old exclusives, or at this point old exclusives to PC, I don't need to do that. So, and I mean, really, it's a smart move for them, because they're going to make money off of people like me who want to play the exclusives, but are not going to buy the hardware new or the software new. So, they can at least make something by selling me the game.
Yeah. I mean, we're, like I said, just at the point where I don't even buy stuff new. I just get stuff on Humble Bundle. I wait for Steam sales. Hell, the Game Pass has really dipped up. We wanted to get things fairly close to release now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at Steam sales right now, and there's the Big Band Publisher sale that has a lot of good stuff right now. So a lot of trash as well, let's be perfectly honest. But it just, unless there's a particular reason that you have to be in, fairly short after launch or in the early access area, just wait. Unless you really want to support a game for some reason, like it. Well, I would say Kerbal is probably a good example of that. A niche game or something odd that you just have to have and you want to see through, right?
Yeah. I mean, I buy more games closer to new than you do, but they're titles like stuff that's very niche that I'm into, like most recently, like Transport Fever 2. You know, I bought that like brand new because I didn't get a review key, which was fine. They didn't, but I bought that brand new because I genuinely wanted to play it, and I've put, I don't know, 50 or 60 hours into it since I bought it. Like, but a brand new sort of niche or indie PC title is, $30 or $40 instead of 60 or 70 or 200, depending on, what special edition you want to get. So.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through my Steam purchases, and I'm trying to find the last game I bought at full price. And I'm not seeing it.
Probably the last game I bought at full price actually was BattleTech, because I still got a discount on Transport Fever 2 for owning the previous one.
Yeah, I guess BattleTech would be it for me as well. Because I'm just kind of scrolling through, like I said. Having some fun with it.
Yeah.
I guess BattleTech would be it for me as well. Which, that was even full price. That was... Well, we got it the day of release, so we still got the pre-order discount. But the reviews were out, and we were able to download pretty much instantly. If I remember source correctly.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I consider myself like an Oasis gamer. I wait till I get a big discount and I load up.
Yeah. I used to do that a lot more.
Or do Humble Bundle, that sort of thing. Or, honestly, the Twitch Prime stuff has been pretty good to me. I mean, it's just, so many different things to get games through, right? It's just, right?
Yeah. I'm looking, too, at my history, and it's like a lot of, like, stuff during Steam sales. A lot of stuff during Steam sales. Transport Fever 2. Pretty close to full, but yeah, it's been a long time since I've bought a straight up brand new game, even without any kind of discount on it at all. But I mean, I have more recently, and I think I've talked about this on the show before. I know I've talked about it to you. Like, more recently, I've been like, I just have so many like junk games in my library that if I really want to play a game, I'm willing to spend more money on it because I know I'm going to play it and enjoy it. And so I've done that a bit more the last year or so, last couple of years. I've been doing good on my beat at least 12 games in 12 months so far. I've beaten 3, and we're in March, so I'm ahead. I've beaten 3 games so far this year. Game Club kind of helps because stacking was pretty easy to get through.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was easy to get through because
it was quick.
The end. Yeah, it was quick, but not easy. Ugh.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that probably fairly well encapsulates my thoughts on this topic. So our second news topic, ABLEGAMERS 2020 pay-to-win charity community tournament is coming up.
Yeah, this is kind of funny.
Yeah, do you want to take this one for a minute?
Yeah, so there is a charity tournament coming up that they're encouraging donations, and if people donate, they're able to contribute to the battle and send in units and send in resources. While I think it's major streamers are playing Total Annihilation. I mean, it's an interesting way to try to generate some extra donations because they could get a person that has a big fan base behind someone and try to screw over somebody else. Well, not this particular group, but it kind of reminds me of Games Done Quick, where they enabled for donation goals for joke or gimmicky runs. So, like $25,000, and they'll play Mike Tyson's Punch Out blindfolded. And yes, that's a thing, by the way.
That's fun.
It is fucking amazing. That's what it is. So seeing the donations tied directly to gameplay is an interesting way to do it. Where, let's say, you, the spectators, have the ability to donate units to the player of your choice live as you watch the battle unfold. Give an underdog a second chance, drop a titan in the middle of a rampaging horde, or just throw down a load of nuclear missiles to watch the world burn, literally. And it's for the ABLEGAMERS charity, which, being a cripple myself, definitely have a little bit of a soft spot for as well, which is why I put it on here.
Right. And I like the idea. I think it's a fun idea.
They say 16 veterans of this uniquely cataclysmic real-time strategy will skirmish in a series of chaotic free-for-all battles. So it sounds like people from the community as well.
Yep, I'm still holding a grudge against you, Kyle. Fucking planetary annihilation. Slamming a meteor, or was it a moon, into my goddamn planet in the first game I'd ever played. Fuck you, Kyle. I love you, but fuck you. I think it's been 2 years.
And this is why I do not play RTS games against Kyle.
So I'm going to hold that grudge until I die or forget because I have Alzheimer's. It's on, motherfucker.
Wait, what are we doing?
Exactly. I don't know if I have much more to say. It's a cool idea. It's fun. It's neat. I'd like to see more stuff like this on a regular basis. But I don't really know how much more I can contribute to that discussion.
Or just see interesting twist on charity stream ideas. Like, another interesting one I've seen is the Desert Bus for Hope.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for those who don't know, back in the 90s, the Magic Duo Penn and Teller were making essentially a minigame compilation. And a prototype for it was released, leaked at one point after the fact. It was going to be for the Sega CD and just never took off. And the game that was most functional was called Desert Bus, which was a shot actually at Hillary Clinton, if memory serves correctly, that said that why don't they have games about real jobs? Basically in the middle of the Mortal Kombat hysteria of the early 90s. So it is a driving simulator from Phoenix, Arizona, or somewhere in Arizona, through the desert to Las Vegas in real time. And it's something like 10 to 12 hours. And the bus slightly leans to the right. There's no music. Occasionally there'll be a bug that flies on the windshield and gets smashed. And
if your bus breaks down or you go off the road and crash, it's not like a massive crash, but it's like your bus kind of breaks down, a tow truck tows you back to wherever it is in Arizona in real time.
No, you actually have to wait in real time first.
Oh, right. And then it tells you back in real time.
And then if you get to Las Vegas, you get 1 point. And you turn around and go back.
Mm-hmm.
And people turn this deliberate joke of a game into a charity stream and actually have fun with it as well. Where they hand off the bus to different drivers and just have a bunch of fun with it. And having odd things like that makes the charity streams a lot more interesting to me. And things like awesome games done quick, or it's either the winter variant or the summer variant. I can't remember which, but having essentially various games, both popular and not speed ran, is another good example of it where they have different goals and they encourage people to try to alter the speed runs through different donation goals, like I mentioned, have essentially blindfolded runs, or have to do some sort of gimmicky trick, or some sort of side objective gets unlocked. The Pokemon games are famous for this, for glitch showcases and that sort of thing. And just have fun with it, show off different things, and make it entertaining for the crowd to generate more income for the charities. And this is a novel way to do it, of having literally pay to win. So I hope that there's some sort of highlights later on of what happened, because it did happen a few days ago, or the qualifying event was a few days ago. With the main event coming up this weekend, of the day after the podcast release, Saturday, March 14th, 2020. So that'll be interesting, and I hope that I see some sort of highlight reel or something out there, because it could be either fun or it could kind of fall on its face, and I hope that it does something fun, even though I do have a bit of a grudge about Planetary Annihilation as well, because of what they pulled with releasing a different version. It's for charity, so I'm able to let go of that for now.
Yeah. Very, very nice of you.
Yeah, don't get used to it.
Okay.
Now get off my fucking lawn.
I won't get used to it. All right. I would like to potentially offer you a choice, because it's midnight. Would you like
Discovery
to do...
Queue.
Okay, I was going to say general topic or Discovery Queue.
Yeah, Discovery Queue I think will be a lot more fun, especially with what I have queued up.
All right, so we will save this general topic perhaps for another day when there's not much going on.
Yeah, well, we're coming up to potentially the season where we get a lot of conferences, but who knows, because everybody's shutting down everything because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, E3 was basically falling apart anyways, and so was, I think, GDC. But
yeah, I wonder if this will be what kills off E3, the coronavirus, right?
Well, that'll put one positive death, and the coronavirus is, however many thousands of people that it ultimately winds up taking.
That we won't have to sit through
gotten E3.
We won't have to sit through another goddamn EA conference.
Yeah, fuck you, EA. Why can't the coronavirus take your company collectively? Not the people. Most of the workers, probably all of the general employees are fine, but get the company and maybe like the CEO. I'm probably going to hell for that. I'm going to stop talking. Before we do...
Yeah, we had no emails. We had no tweets. So if you was to rectify that, VGL Podcast at gmail.com or VGL Podcast on the Twitter. So, doobly-doo, Discovery Queue, and like I said, I had one amazing one immediately on my Discovery Queue.
Okay.
Broomstick League. Rocket League meets Quidditch.
Ooh.
This looks fucking amazing, and I hope that it gets a player base, because it's early access right now. It's not quite Quidditch, it's just literally the Harry Potter-esque theme on Rocket League. But it looks like it's a little bit more offensive than what Rocket League is, with wizards being able to shoot spells at one another and be able to essentially Harry Potter-esque fly brooms around. It looks, like I said, amazing, but does it have the player base? Because it released 5 days ago, and this is the first I've heard of it, and I would think that we would have heard something about this, right?
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about it until you just mentioned it here.
Yeah,
it sounds neat.
Yeah, it looks like there's a player base issue right now, but it's also early access, so who knows? It's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, watching some of this, the gameplay, it's fucking cool.
Well, speaking of fucking,
oh boy,
I got a game called Cloud Meadow. I'm just reading this. Equal parts farming simulator, RPG, and visual novel, Cloud Meadow is an erotic game about learning to work with monstrous allies in order to build a new home and explore uncharted lands. So, like... Oh, okay. I'm going to remove the link because of nudity in the screenshots. I'll let you go look at that. I missed...
Yeah.
I missed a couple
How did you miss that?
Well, I mean, the giant orc tits were fine. Though it went past the one on the sofa. And then there's another one where the breasts are exposed. Oh, no, sorry. That's full-on sex. So... let's see. I'm hoping for like a combination of like a little bit of like Stardew, because there's like what looks like some farming, although you know, I don't know how in depth it's gonna get, but a little bit of Stardew, a little bit of like a JRPG light, and then visual novel sexy time. I'm all for that. All for those things.
Well, I got another visual novel. Not as sexy, but kind of interesting. Or at least I would consider this somewhat visual novel-esque. Murder by the Numbers. Solve pixel puzzles to find clues with some visual novel aspects in between. So it's Picross to unlock clues to be able to try to solve murders in, I believe, Los Angeles? Yeah, Los Angeles in 1996. So... interesting, and also looks like a bit of a sci-fi twist on it as well. So, interesting combination of things, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, it beats the hidden puzzle or hidden picture things, right?
Yeah. So I got Garfiled Kart, which is Mario Kart style
it's not
racing with Garfield. It's got very positive reviews. Are they joke reviews?
Yeah, it basically was a bad Rex for a time.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look good, but I mean, how could I pass up putting Garfiled Kart Furious Racing in the Discovery Queue list? I'm gonna mark that one as ignore.
Well, I got another interesting one. After getting one that was sexy times that honestly didn't look good. My Hero One's Justice 2. Which doesn't sound like much, but it is the second My Hero Academia fighting game. So, 3D fighting arena with characters from My Hero Academia, which, if you haven't followed that anime, well, we actually need to go back and finish watching season 3.
Yeah, and then I've got the movie.
Yeah,
that's between season 3 and 4, or between season 2 and 3.
Yeah, something like that.
Wherever it goes, I've got it ripped, so we need to get back on that too.
But anyway, they have some very creative and oddball powers. Like, there's one girl that literally is like half frog, or very frog-like.
Keto.
Thank you. Thank you, Frappy.
Frappy.
The main protagonist, to be honest, there's like several protagonists, but they're like a core group. The main character is essentially becoming like Superman-esque as his powers manifest. Full-on Superman, where he has literally any power he needs, but super strength, super fast. But he also is very Batman-esque, where he thinks things through and is constantly planning. There's a lot of interesting characters, and I would really recommend at least going to check out the anime. And if you're a fan of 3D fighting arenas, check out this, or at least the first one. The second one's not out yet.
Yep.
So.
Okay. So I got State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition, which a few months ago, I played State of Decay 2 on Xbox Game Pass. This is it's coming to Steam, and it looks like, just reading through this, that it has all of the DLC. It's like a gold edition or Game of the Year edition or whatever. They're just calling it the Juggernaut edition. It looks like it has the DLC, and then it's added some other stuff like Chinese language support, which apparently wasn't in it. And it's talking about like some different stuff for new players that isn't in the other version. So I don't know what that is, but I mean, I liked State of Decay 2. You could go back and find the episode to listen to that if you want my full thoughts on the game. But in general, it's just a straight improvement over the first State of Decay. Very good, very enjoyable. Definitely worth a buy. Looks like it's going to be $30 to get it. And for all the DLC, I think it would probably be worth that. It can certainly be enjoyed in multiplayer, but I played it entirely in single player, and I feel like I got $25 or $30 of enjoyment out of playing it on Game Pass. So Game Pass does not have all of the DLC, though. So that's kind of the difference in the two versions. If you want everything, you might want to buy it on Steam. If you don't care about that, but you want to play it, Game Pass, super cheap, my friends. Super cheap. All right.
Okay, I got Victory Road. Victory Road is a boxing simulator that uniquely puts you in the role of the coach, not the boxer. As a coach, the fate of your boxer's career and potentially his life is in your hands. So, sort of Punch Club-esque, but looks like they're actually making it kind of fun. I know that sounds horrible of me to say about Punch Club, but Punch Club was either very grindy or super easy depending on what mode you're playing in.
Mm-hmm.
And this you're uniquely playing the coach and not the boxer, so you're on the sideline yelling advice instead of trying to set up a strategy or setting a set strategy. It's an interesting take on it. It's in early access right now. It's $19, I think. It's a little hard to read that. They're crossed out because it's on a release sale. But they've been working on the game for over 3 years now, and it looks interesting. It has sort of this late NES, early SNES feel for it, graphically.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting, like I said. I think it's the fact that Punch Club was kind of a disappointment because they focused so much on being almost mobile-esque in its gameplay. Having something that could be a little bit more simulation-esque, where you're having to worry about the nutrition as well, working on exercise routines and stuff like that, where it's more of a focus on gameplay over story narrative. I would say it's worth checking out at least.
Cool. My next one, Iris and the Giant. It says it's a fusion of CCG, RPG, and roguelike genres. So I don't know if that sounds good or like a mess to you, but it's got a very interesting, unique art style. It feels very like... what's the ancient culture I'm reaching for here? So South American, like Mexica
Incan.
or Incan. Yeah. I've never seen anything like this. There might be games out there that exist, but I've never seen anything like it. Looks very cool. So it looks interesting. It's $18. Deluxe edition is $20. It comes with a soundtrack.
Okay, I'm going to put a Battle Royale game on here.
Okay.
It's a free-to-play Battle Royale game, but it's essentially a Bomberman Battle Royale game.
Okay.
Bombergrounds Battle Royale, where you're playing bombermen, bomber people, and you're trying to just survive to get the victory royale or whatever. I mean, it's an interesting take on it. We've seen Battle Royale out the wazoo, but Yeah, I haven't seen a Bomberman one, so that could be interesting. But we don't really see a lot of Bomberman stuff these days, do we?
No, which is sad because I really like Bomberman. I think there was one game that was basically Bomberman called something like Bombing Bastards or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of remember that. I mean, looking at the trailer, it does have a very Bomberman-esque feel, and it looks like instead of a closing ring, essentially the world's kind of dropping away one ring of tiles at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's definitely Bomberman gameplay. So yeah,
is it free to play? It is.
Yep.
I might
free to play. I said free to play. So
oh, I missed you saying that. I might check this out. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've never encountered this developer before. Giant Duck Games.
I have said before that I don't think that Battle Royale is necessarily like it's a genre. It's a tool that can be used to
the thing is, it's been done very lazily.
It's basically, it's been done over and over again on third person and to some extent first person shooters, and that's it. But the Battle Royale games that I found the most interesting are ones like whatever the Tetris one was, Tetris Effect, or
I know what you're talking about. Shoot, I'm blanking on the damn name of it. It was a Switch exclusive for a long time, and I think it's gone mobile.
Yeah, I didn't know that it gone mobile. I have to check that out. But
I think it did.
But the Tetris Battle Royale game was really interesting and a unique kind of take on it.
Tetris 99.
Tetris 99, okay.
I mean, technically Battle Royale, but not, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you need that like with many things that become genres, we need to broaden our definition of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, and it is going mobile. They said that a beta was supposed to be available last year, but I never heard about that. But they also changed the name to Tetris Royale, so I'm not sure if that's the same one.
Gotcha.
Tetris Battle Royale is coming to mobile, and it's not Tetris 99, so it's a different one. And Tetris Royale is on Google Play right now.
Oh, I'll have to. I'll definitely check that out, especially if it's free. I've got a few bucks in my Google Wallet from surveys.
It looks like it's free, but it's rated 3.8.
That's not bad. 3.8.
Looks like
that's not great, but
it looks like there's a lot of videos that eat up people's data. But fuck you, I got unlimited.
I'm on Wi-Fi. That's something.
Well, I got another one. I do too. I still have 3 more left.
I have another one.
I have Cook Serve Delicious 3. So, essentially the PC version of Cooking Mama. Let's be perfectly honest here. Where you run a restaurant and you're running around like mad trying to keep things from going to shit. And it's very intensive. I've played the first couple, and it requires you to build a bit of muscle memory. So, like hitting K for ketchup, M for mustard on for fries or hot dogs or whatever. Knowing the approximate timing on how long it takes for the chicken to fry, or the hotkeys you need to be able to hit your bubble tea quickly for a particular order. It can get very intensive. It has a low barrier of entry, but it has a high skill ceiling. And it looks like they're going to a food truck this time. The last one, I believe you were managing a couple high-end restaurants. So food trucks could be a very interesting area for this because they're very diverse.
Yeah. So I got one.
I was going to say, hang on, I was just double checking this. It looks like if you have the others, it does not knock off the price. So it doesn't have a complete the bundle set, which is a little disappointing, but it is also an early access title. Okay.
So I'm not sure if you're around, it says Dwarrows or Dwarrows. but it is described as a peaceful third-person action, or sorry, not.
Oh
action,
yeah, I accidentally started
adventure.
I accidentally started a discovery queue in between the episodes, and this was on there, and I added it to my wish list. It looks very interesting.
Very cute, very interesting. I like the idea of a peaceful sort of exploration, puzzle solving, buildy type game, because so many of these like Minecraft, Space Engineers, etc., eventually go down the route of survival, and I don't like that. Whenever I play these games, I like to just chill out, explore, build stuff, relax. So I love the idea of this, the sound of it, and would just have to play it and see how it actually turned out. But all right,
okay, I got one. I just found it. I'm adding it to my list. SIMULACRA 2. This looks like it's in the same in the vein of Another Lost Phone, where you are looking at stuff on a phone to try to solve a murder, along with police files and just random cat pics as well. Yeah, it looks like they filled out the phone fairly well, actually. I'm not sure if this is the. I'm quickly looking at the developer to see if there's another one. If there's a SIMULACRA. Yeah, there is. An interactive horror experience about exploring a missing woman's phone. So this is the same vein, where it's technically a horror game, but it looks like it's more of a psychological horror. But also looks like they're going the route of full motion video as well for cutscenes, which is going to massively add to the file size, I bet. Let's see. Requires 16 gigs of hard drive space. So, yep. For a more simple game like this, yep, that is definitely adding to it.
So I got another one. I only have
one
game.
I was just going to say, if you're a fan of these kind of more oddball horror titles or discovery titles, or liked Another Lost Phone or that type of game, it looks like one to check out. Okay, your turn.
All right. So I got another one. I only have one game left on my queue. So we'll see if
my last one is VR only, so I'm not going to do it.
Gotcha. So this is Command & Conquer Remastered Collection. I have been following the development of this game for a while now. They have remastered Command & Conquer 1 and Red Alert 1, along with all of the expansions for the games, the dev team that's been working on this. It's been under development for several years. If you're a fan of the Command & Conquer series, as far as what I have seen following sort of the progress of this is going to wind up being a must-have. They've went back through all of the original development archives. They've got a lot of unused assets, footage, music that has been remastered, re-rendered where possible. They got as many of the master recordings of all of the FMV stuff. And then they're doing their best to properly remaster and upscale the things that they couldn't get the originals for. There's a little bit of mixed quality on that front, but in general, everything looks better. The new remastered music tracks are great. The game is including a shitload of bonus features like blooper reels and unused takes and like making of kind of, bonus feature documentary type stuff. I am very excited for this. And their announcement trailer, they're like, finally it was going to be up for purchase, like pre-purchase, and the release date went up today. So it's coming out June 5th. Obviously, I'm not going to pre-order. Thou shalt not pre-order. But I'm very excited for this. So fingers crossed it turns out to be as good as it looks. And then I have one more game on my discovery queue, and it is not loading. What happens if I hit refresh? And my queue, okay, it must have been garbage because it's telling me my queue is complete. So now I'll never know what that final game was on my queue. So yeah.
Just imagine that it had just some big tits.
I mean, I'm on the internet every day. I see those regularly. As much as I like them, that's not like a big,
Yeah, but they were animated tits.
I can watch those every day. It is a pleasant surprise, I guess, when they pop up on Steam, but sweet. Well,
yeah, well, you're more interested in the dicks the size of baseball bats anyway.
I mean, yes, to all of those things. Yes, please. Big dicks, big tits, all of it.
Planes fucking other planes.
100%. Anyone who's curious, just come ask me about that. We'll talk about it. I'll let you in on my world of fetishes. But for now, that's going to do it for us in the Discovery Queue. Hey, Rage, why don't you hit him with them socials?
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on YouTube, Gaming with Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR. Or you can be my friend on Steam, Caffeine Rage over there as well. You've been
Gaming Psychologist. You can find me on the YouTubes by searching for Gaming Psychologist, on Twitter at JMA4707, and you can be my friend on Steam by sending a friend request to JArthur4707.
If it was to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Apocalypse. Apocalypse. Especially if you've been listening to the news lately and, we're all going to die. Quick, hoard all the toilet paper. Because, that saves you from the coronavirus, right? Toilet paper.
Indeed. I might die, but at least I'll die with a clean asshole. There's a sentence I never thought I would say.
There's a sentence, I would have thought that you would have said, honestly.
I've never said that before in my life.
Well, there's a first time for everything.
Indeed.
And on that note, let's get the hell out of here. Once again, you could reach us, vglpodcast@gmail.com, with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, or just tweet them to us, VGL Podcast, on the Twitter. Our lovely, lovely patrons are to blame for this absolute madness. You can find out more at patreon.com/VGL Podcast. Or you just to find the show notes, the RSS feed, or links to all our stuff. You can find us vglpodcast.podbean.com or your podcatcher of choice. But if you haven't found us on a podcatcher or somewhere, how the hell are you listening to us? Let us know. Because that'll be an interesting one, right?
That would be.
Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Chemic Lloyd, and our Discovery Cube music is Jubilee Dude by the same artist. You can find his work over at Computech.com, and
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See you next time.